Welcome to the Shark Tank Podcast. Each week, one of the best entrepreneurs from ABC's network smash hit Shark Tank teaches you how to swim with the sharks without being eaten alive. And now your host, serial entrepreneur, TJ Hale.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Shark Tank Podcast. Here today with some beautiful facial hair courtesy of David over at BeardHead. David, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, TJ.
Great to have you. So obviously, I've been sleeping with this thing for the last few days. My wife loves it. She wants me to permanently super glue it on my face. Not sure if I'm going to do that or not, but appreciate you hooking me up. We're going to give people a link where they can get their very own beard face, and we just talked about this. I've been so good. Why do I keep calling it beard face?
We probably shouldn't have been talking about it. That's why.
That's a problem. But BeardHead, these are amazing. And you actually said beard face was one of the first URLs you looked up, right? And it was taken?
I did, yep. If it wasn't already taken, it very well could have been our brand name. But it's actually from, if you ever watch Scrubs, there's a Dr. Beard Face, but they all call him Beard Face, and that's where it all came from.
Did you manage to make sure the BeardHead kills all the other beard URLs in the rankings, though? So make up for it?
Oh, go and check yourselves where we rank. And spoiler alert, it's number one. So
no, I really do dig these things. I like the street camo is my favorite. I like this. What do you call this look here? The scruffies. What is this one called?
That's the bushy beard.
Yeah,
Scruffy is not bad, though. I kind of like that a little more. Man, maybe I should hire you to come up with names.
I'm expensive.
I'm going to write that down.
But you know where to find me. It's a little
scruffy.
Scruff's all the rage right now. But I feel like this would really... I could capitalize on this when I'm boarding, like to keep the face warm, because I hate wearing the spy masks or the little neoprene ones, but I've never tried this before. I would dig this.
Yep. I mean, that's why that's why BeardHead sort of came about, and I came up with the idea. I had that neoprene one. I didn't like the way it looked. Had that funky little nose hole that I wasn't really digging. So that on that trip, it was a Lake Tahoe trip. It was 8 or 9 years ago. My face was freezing. I was playing with a bandana that wasn't working. I didn't like that ugly neoprene thing that all the ski shops sell. So I was kind of frustrated. I ended up coming up with the idea for BeardHead while sitting on the ski lifts. You get a lot of free time sitting on ski lifts.
True. They should fix that, man. There should be like flat screens or something you can plug into. But
hey, that's an interesting idea. Flat screens on the ski lifts.
So one of the things I noticed when I bought this, I expected the beanies themselves to be a little cheaper. This one looks like it was like handmade, crochet, or knitted. I mean, they're pretty decent in terms of quality. Was this something that you evolved into, or was that always the standard that you set from the beginning?
That's always the standard. It wasn't. I mean, they never started out cheap. That one that was the Barbarian Roadie and Barbarian Vagabond beanie he was referring to. That other one he's got is the bushy Maverick. But yeah, that other one, that is my favorite beanie. It's definitely the highest quality. It's very thick. It's warm. You know what? I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, the cost difference is not enough. Yeah, maybe it costs twice as much, but when a cheaper beanie costs $1.50 or $1, and this one costs $2 or $3, like, I'm saving myself $1 or $1.50 versus having this huge jump in quality where people can actually feel good about, the product that they got. Totally worth it. 100% more sounds like a lot, but when you say it's $1 more, who cares, right? It's totally worth it.
I want to invite everyone who's listening. If you are an entrepreneur, you're going to enjoy this chat. If you're a fan of Shark Tank, if you're someone trying to get on Shark Tank, definitely check out the Premium Insider content. We just finished up that interview where David takes us into the process of how he got on the show, what he would do differently, and answers all those questions relative to those. So definitely check it out. Now, David, my initial reaction when I saw it was, one, the marketing's awesome. I've got the website open here. I love the big, I don't know, what do you call these fathead pictures that you take? Like the blown up heads with the beards on. They look awesome. What do these have a title or a name?
No, you kind of caught me off guard there. We're just talking about being super prepared, and I wasn't. No, we don't have a name for those. It's kind of. That's like if you ever watch, read manga or watch anime. It's like called a chibi style anime, or super deformed, I guess would be also a term that maybe in the U.S. is used. But yeah, big head style. If you ever played NBA Jam back in the day, you can have the big head codes. I'm a big fan of that style. I like it. We all sort of, honestly, we didn't start out like that. We started out with a much different sort of branding and marketing sort of thing. And about, I want to say 3.5 years ago, maybe, or 3 years ago, sort of came up with the big head, more goofy, more fun sort of stuff. And it worked out really, really. I love it. I couldn't be happier. I think it looks amazing. So I'm glad you like it too.
Yeah, for gamers, I think cheat codes is the best way to explain it. Like, there's nothing, it's a cheat code. It's beautiful and it's fun to play with and look at. So I think that's one of the things that stuck out. Another one was the amount of SKUs you had. And during your negotiation, that wasn't really brought up, except for you said you have like 250 products. And I remember thinking, is that going to be perceived as a positive or as a negative? Because that's a lot of inventory and product to track. So that's something I want to talk about. Before we do that, I also want to mention the very last thing that I remember is you looking very disappointed not to get any offers in the tank, which surprised me. I kind of had this, I feel like you had this air of, you know what, we've got a solid company, we've got a great product, we've got a huge following, and nobody here cares. Like, what is wrong with you people? Was there any of that sentiment when you left?
No, not at all, actually. So that's funny you mentioned that. So let me say, honestly, I haven't even watched it yet. So I don't even know how they cut it. I don't know how they edit it. I don't know what my reactions are or how I looked. I mean, I was there, so I have an idea, but I don't know exactly how it was sort of presented. I kind of went in thinking it was going to be a hard sell. I thought maybe there's a 10% chance I get a deal here. But I'm going to give it a shot. Certainly. And to be honest, I mean, as the pitch went on and as we kind of got closer to the end, actually, I guess maybe I did get a little excited. I was like, holy crap, I might actually get a deal here. Robert's like really thinking about this. And I got pretty excited. So maybe they caught me like right when he was like, no, I was like, but it was, that was kind of like, I felt like the whole was a bit of a, because I knew it was, it's not one of the businesses that have this giant potential. It's going to be very difficult to make this a $10 million a year business, let alone a $50 or $100 million a year business. And, the Sharks want something big, especially as it seems like as we're getting a little bit further along in the life of this series. You might look at season 1 or season 2, and there has some pretty goofy things, and they might be doing, $50,000 a year in sales, and the Sharks might still be interested. But, for what, for them to, I think it'd be very difficult for them to get excited about us if we're already doing $1 million, and for them to think that they can kind of come in there and bring it up to 10 or 50 or plus, Well,
let's bring people up to speed. You came in the tank. This is during season 7, so this is this year. You had about $5 million in lifetime sales. About $1.3 million was your most recent year, except that, was what you're projecting for that year, except that the year prior you'd had an expensive legal battle with a competitor who was nipping at you. And I was personally curious with this competitor, is this something that they did just out of spite? Is it something they did because you were growing and they were not? Is it someone you used to know that like you stole their spouse, or like what was going on there? Was it
well, to be honest, I try not to talk too much about the competitor just because they seem to be rather litigious and don't really know what they're doing so well. So, that's a dangerous combination. I think that they believed that they had some sort of rights to something, to some designs or what have you, and they didn't. Told them that they didn't. I told them they're going to waste everyone's time and money, and then they went on to waste everyone's time and money and conclude that they didn't, and we were right, and that was that. But it was an expensive sort of I told you so.
Yeah, so everything's going right, and then they kind of get hung up on this. Well, you had a down year last year, and that was kind of the Sharks' consensus is let's focus on this down year and why it's down and what will happen if it stays down. And I was confused by that because you have good retail exposure. It seems like you have good online sales, the Amazon page, I'm looking at it right now as well, the reviews and the sales numbers. I mean, there's a lot of good things here for them to chew on. So I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe he smelled funny. Maybe he cursed at someone and they cut it out. Like, what did we miss?
No. I honestly, I wasn't surprised at all. I thought that was going to be that and the kind of potential size moving forward were the only two real issues here.
Okay.
Right? But the fact of the matter is, we had every single year we were going up and up and up in sales. And then last year we had a down year. So obviously that's going to raise some red flags, especially for a product like ours. Yes, it can be, it certainly has the sort of potential as being a fad or novelty, and it could be over. And that's a risk. So, when the Sharks are presented with so many interesting ideas and opportunities to invest in something, why take the risks on something that is going up, 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 and then boom, all of a sudden we have a down year? Yes, it could have been from legal, could have been from this, could have been from that. But, why even take that risk at this point? Because, is that sort of, there's that potential for kind of just being a fad that's over, So I understood that, and I wasn't surprised there.
So let's see here. For people, I think I covered most of the main things that happened. In terms of your ask, you're looking for $250,000 for 25%. You mentioned in our insider interview that you thought Damon might be a good fit because of apparel. I was actually kind of surprised that Mark wasn't more interested. Obviously, you mentioned that the sports market and the fan market was one of your goals, and he said the same thing you did, is that I want to see this get to 10 million or 20 million. How does that happen? I don't really see it. But you probably knew he had an investment with GameFace, and the entire conversation was centered around them getting licensing, which kind of wasn't talked about in your entire segment, which is where I think the potential is here too. Robert brought it up. There's only 4 companies you have to call to get that licensing deal done. Tipsy Elves has done a bunch of money. Was there a larger discussion around that? Because I thought that was your hook to get Mark, and it wasn't even brought up when he was negotiating.
Right. Well, and honestly, that was the real pitch for me. Aside from kind of talking about the company and getting everything, sort of out there, just about what the brand is and the products and the history, the potential, the pitch, like how do we get large? How do we make this worth your while? Was the tailgate business, and also to a certain degree the kids. But yeah, I mean, basically the whole idea was to sort of pitch the tailgate business. But licensing is certainly one way. Licensing can be difficult though, especially for the NFL. I don't think that's even a possibility. I think the NFL has an exclusive license with maybe Nike, or basically, a company like Tipsy Elves or Game Faces, they can get licensing because these types of products don't have exclusivity. Something like a BeardHead, which basically would constitute a beanie, those are definitely licensed, exclusive licenses. So it's going to be Nike, and that's it. They're the only headwear maker. And again, I'm not sure if it's Nike. Maybe it's what's the other, a New Era or something. But they're going to be the only ones who do a license for. Yeah. So I think that was probably why there was a bit of a discussion. There's certainly some opportunity in college. CLC is one of them, or even some colleges you can go to individual teams. Some of them run their own licensing. So that's some opportunity there. But it's not just super cut and dry as something like if it were for Game Faces or Tipsy Elves, where they're doing like was it like jammies or something like that, or I can get a T-shirt license for NFL fairly easily. I think there's tons of those out there, but headwear is one of those. It's not so easy.
Yeah, and actually, I want to stay on this a little longer because I'm really curious about the. I thought college market would be the target because you've got the NCAA, then you've got the separate divisions. Out here we got the Pac-12 and the Mountain West and all that. I would have thought there was a way to crack in with one of those and kind of use it as a test to go sell it to the other ones and go, hey, there's a ton of money here on the table, and we want you to have some, and we'll keep the rest.
Well, I mean, that's really, that's the plan. We're moving forward with that to a certain degree, but I'll tell you, I was really hoping for a shark to get online. If we were going to really attack this sort of market, and that would be the plan of attack, is to hit up the colleges, the collegiate licensing, a couple of major collegiate guys, and also a couple key schools that might have their own, like Oregon, for example, University of Oregon. But to date, we haven't had a whole lot of traction with the tailgate. We've done okay. In some instances, we've really, we got in a certain store at a college bookstore in a certain school. I think it was BSU. And they just killed it, So I know that there's this opportunity. If you get in the right store, you get in the hands of the right people, that it can just blow up. You picture thousands of people at games. There's 80,000, 90,000 people watching a college football game. You have a couple of the key people wearing these things, and it can all of a sudden turn into a thing. You have the whole student section wearing them. But again, we haven't had that. We haven't found that right person yet. And again, I was hoping for a shark. I thought, if we got that investment from a shark, it would end up working. I think we could have managed to execute on that strategy a lot better, whether it's the extra resources, the connections, the ability to hire somebody specifically to hit that market, these types of things. But at this point, it's difficult for me to want to invest that time and money into really hitting that market when, some of the things today, on a smaller scale, haven't gone as well as I would have hoped, as far as marketing or trying to get inroads into a specific school or what have you.
Well, let's break that down a little bit. You said that this year you were anticipating, I don't have the number written. If you gave a projection for the upcoming year, was that 1.3 million?
Did I do it? Yeah, I think it's something like that. I can't quite remember what I said, for 2016, but we're on pace. But like to Mark's point, I believe he, whether they cut it out or not, I think he was saying, well, you're basically essentially flat, right? 1.3 great, and then 1.3, something along those lines. And yeah, in this year we're probably going to be looking at around that much as well. So he wasn't wrong in saying that. Yeah, we're not necessarily growing like gangbusters anymore. But yeah, we're on pace for something around those numbers. It's still really early in the year. It's tough to really kind of make projections for 2016 just because we are so seasonal, where 70% of our income and revenue comes like October and later. Even the pre-books and stuff, we're just starting to get the pre-books for wholesale business now. But I will say that actually I learned something very interesting while I was doing the pitch in Shark Tank, and also maybe just it might have been a few days before when I was talking to some of the producers, and we were talking about Tipsy Elves and how Robert had invested in Tipsy Elves this prior season or 2 seasons ago. And I remember, let me tell you, these guys were doing, I think, like 600, maybe 800,000 when I knew them, when I met them. I met them at Magic. It's a apparel trade show in Vegas. It's twice a year, biggest trade show for apparel. I'd see him there every twice a year. And when I met them, they're doing maybe 600, 800, something like that. We were doing a little bit more, about the same size though. So we had a lot to talk about. It was really interesting. It's fun. They get on Shark Tank, they start working with Robert, and then I think they said they're doing 17 million. I was like, holy, okay, that's significant. That's no joke. You go from, let's say, $1 million or less, and you're going to 17 million in less than 2 years. It's insane, right? And what's even more interesting was, I met them at a trade show. So this is where we try to get wholesale business, right? Where we try to get our accounts in, like department stores or little mom and pops retailers, whatever it may be. And they actually transitioned into, and feel free if whoever's listening, or maybe you can, TJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're 100% direct retail, direct to customers,
right,
all through a website now. And that sounds great. I want to do that. And so we're focusing on that quite a bit more now. I'm taking a lot of the focus away from wholesale, putting it a lot more on retail. It's a lot, I would say, I don't know if easier is the right word, but I personally prefer selling directly to customers. It's more consistent. You have a lot more control over the brand and how your inventory sort of shapes out, how much you want to advertise, if you need to push things down, what kind of flexibility you have with your prices. We're very hamstrung before with our pricing. If we're selling wholesale to all these different accounts, they don't like it if you start selling stuff cheaper, because they said, well, what the hell? We just bought this at this price and I'm trying to sell it for, X. And now all of a sudden the manufacturer themselves, the brand themselves, are lowering the price. That's no good. We can't have that, So there's a lot of appeal to just focusing direct to customers. And when I heard sort of how well Tipsy Elves is doing and what they're able to accomplish there, that sort of sparked something there, and where I really kind of wanted to make a change overall.
I'd actually like to have them on to talk about that. If anyone who's listens to my show regularly, we've been talking about this topic. Probably it's come up 4 or 5 weeks in a row. It came up because Damon mentioned, like you said earlier, he's not really interested in apparel anymore. He's been there, done that. But he also isn't interested in selling wholesale accounts. He called it the tchotchke into large retailers. Doesn't interest him. And this is part of the reason why. You look at, you're trying to serve 2 masters. You're actually trying to please 2 separate customers, right? The ones who carry your product and the ones who actually buy it. Whereas you have to sell 1/3, 1/4, 1/5 the amount of product direct to consumer. You get instant feedback. If your pricing's right or wrong. You can deal directly with them without the filter. And
Yep.
I think for people who are starting out their business now, there is actually an advantage to saying, look, don't even chase the retailers unless, like I have a client who the retailers came to them, they front loaded their inventory, they bought every unit they made their entire first year. That's rare. That's unicornish. But for the rest of you, focus on selling on social media, focus on selling to people within your immediate network and expand it from there. And you're not even going to know the world of, what does Kevin call it? The world of hurt that you're missing out by not chasing strictly retail. So
Yeah.
what does that
I
look, what does that look like for you?
I mean, I totally agree. It's not. There's a lot of other downsides to selling wholesale to the retail. I say wholesale. A lot of people say, oh, selling to retail. I think of selling wholesale versus retail. My retail to me is direct to consumers.
Sure.
So that's just how I'm going to talk about it moving forward. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other downsides, and one of the biggest ones was consistency, as we've learned throughout the years. And I'll tell you, like, after the first 2 years of just establishing the business and getting our everything set up and our sales to a point where we actually mattered, after that, I really was focused on building this company and the wholesale side of the business. That was the most important thing. I wanted to grow the wholesale side. I wanted to get the big accounts and as many accounts as I could, because I thought, okay, and someday when I want to sell this, that's where the value is going to be, right? I'm going to have, oh, well, we have this account, and that's going to be a good thing. And as it turns out, those accounts don't mean jack, because they might buy you 1 year and then the next year they won't. And it's all like, if my biggest account, let's say they do a couple 100,000 a year. I don't even have one that does that much, but let's say 100,000 a year. And that's one buyer. If that buyer leaves, if that buyer changes their position within the company, moves to a different company or whatever, a new guy comes in or gal, and they don't like your stuff. Or maybe they just, they don't feel like it. They don't feel like responding to your email. They don't feel like looking at your catalog. Then you're out.
Or they've got somebody else that they buy from who's got kind of a similar product. You're done.
Or that, right? So, I mean, it's just to have so much of your business just the reliance on the whims of one person, one buyer, it can be very inconsistent, and versus, selling thousands and thousands of them a year. If there's something going wrong there, that's more of a global problem with your product, your prices, with your brand, whatever it is. If your sales dip on the retail side, if they dip on the wholesale side, it could be just because the buyer is having a bad day, and they just didn't feel like putting in a PO for you. You don't know. You have no control over it.
Right.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't like it. Another reason is just at least with us, and granted, this is multiplied by our type of product, because our type of product is very seasonal, and it could also be viewed as again, this whole like fad sort of novelty sort of thing. A store might carry us for 1 year or 2 years, maybe three, and they're like, you know what, we're done. That was fun. Our customers had a good time with it. Moving on. And when I was trying to build the whole strategy of trying to build this company with all these wholesale accounts, I wasn't thinking of that, and I didn't expect that, and I probably should have in hindsight. But you're not Levi's. We're not Levi's. We're not going to be in a store and they're going to be in there for 50 years and it's a staple and it's an important part of their store. No, we're a fun product that the customers could potentially enjoy, make that retailer some money, and then we're out and we're done. And that's that.
So we're talking about really the dark side of retail. So I think because it's such a diverse listener base, let's talk about starting over. If you could go back and do it differently, I'll give my advice first, then you can give yours. I would tell people to focus on social media, but utilize Amazon, because Amazon's kind of the line right down the middle. And maybe you don't agree with that.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, okay, great. But it kind of gives you I believe the closer you are to the customer, the more control you have over your destiny, all of it, because that's the one thing you don't get with the wholesalers is you don't know the customer and you don't have them if they get taken away. Amazon kind of lets you walk the fine line, and it lets you direct them back to your tribe, which is your social media following, your blog, your email capture. I would focus on that, take it slow, and have patience. And if that blows up, no one can take it away from you. That's my advice. What's yours?
That was the, kind of mentioned, if I could go back, would be let's focus on wholesale. Don't get me wrong, man. It's hard to turn away. We didn't go out seeking it most of the time. People come and email us, hey, we love it. We want to put in a purchase order. They're like, well, why not? Okay.
Sure. Money
is money. Take it, right? But and then eventually we got to focusing on it, spending more money on it, more resources, more time, and what have you. But back to the point, Amazon, we weren't on Amazon for the first, I don't know, 5 years or whatever it is.
Whoa.
It was only until recently, just last year, that I put in a lot of effort into Amazon. Now there's a good amount of effort in there, and it's a huge focus of the business. But before that, it's because we did start doing the wholesale stuff where it was basically like one company. They're a huge seller on Amazon. They sell thousands of products. And I'm like, hey, we want to buy, a couple $100,000. Oh, Amazon, actually, we sold directly to Amazon as well. It's like $200,000 PO. Great, take it, right? But we couldn't list our own stuff on Amazon because it's so price competitive, and we're competing directly against the people who are buying from us wholesale, and and a lot of other retailers, especially the mom and pops and things, they don't want to see your stuff on Amazon. They're not going to buy from you if it's on Amazon. So for the first few years, we just like, let's try to control everything. We'll do our own sales through our website, always full price. Amazon won't be allowed, so on and so forth. But then when we got so many accounts, we had hundreds and hundreds of accounts. So our stuff started popping up under 5, 6, 7 different types of sellers on Amazon, and it was just a big cluster. So, in hindsight, would have sold on Amazon. Well, get rid of wholesale, sold on Amazon ourselves, created all the listings ourselves. It took me, I'm still working on it, like 6+ months to go and deal with Amazon, get rid of all those listings, or not get rid of them. I mean, they bought the stuff; they can certainly sell them. The wholesalers can sell that on Amazon, but the listings, the UPCs, the product description, the images were all just a mess, because they're doing them themselves. And you really need to be the registered brand on Amazon. Control all those listings. If you do selling your product on Amazon, make sure that you still control that listing so they don't have inaccurate information, inaccurate pictures, so on and so forth on there. So, it took a while to fix all that.
And to Amazon's credit, they've done kind of like Google, right? They've messed with the algorithm. They've done a lot of work to make sure that people know who the verified seller is, like on social media. So I think a lot of those problems will be mitigated over time, in my opinion. But I totally agree. I have a client who sold that same one who sold the $300,000 through wholesale. You couldn't even buy their product on their website. They weren't on Amazon. And their worry was that all the retailers would get mad if they started doing it. And I said, you've already got 5 total strangers doing it now. So the bottom line is it's control of the customer that they want, and they can't have it. So you either need to take it or you're going to relinquish it forever. But your retailers are going to continue to fight over it whether you have it or not.
Yep, absolutely. So everyone listening at home, just get on that Amazon. Don't avoid it. Forget that wholesale stuff. Make your cash. And I tell you, people. And I'll tell you, like when I first started, I thought, when I was sending out all these packages myself, fulfilling all myself, I'm like, God, I just sent out, I just had to pack like 25, 30, 50 every single day. And by the way, that's amazing. This is like first world problems, right? But I thought to myself, God, I wish if I could just have a big customer and order 1,000, boom, just like that, 1,000 done. That'd be amazing. That'd be so great. And when I have customers like that, I'm like, these guys, God damn, they want like, oh, it has to be packed this way. You have to label it this way. You better not be late. You have to let, and then, there's a chargeback and there's this and that. Is their wholesale is much bigger headache. And then pay you on time, which happens all the time, and you got to wait for that money. You got to wait, sometimes net 90 days for your money versus when you sell direct to people, guess what? I get it in 2 seconds,
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my Rags to Rach's interview where she did $2 million in a year. And it's funny because the sharks look at that, like with Damon, again, that's something they haven't done, that they haven't built, that actually adds value to their platform. So they're much more interested in someone who controls that customer base than they are in someone who's in 1,000 stores because they know what that looks like. And so my advice to people is if you're starting new, or you're watching the show, look at that and say, why are they interested in that person even though they don't care about that product? And that's the reason why. That tribe building, this is someone who took $2 million in bottom line away from a large brand somewhere, and the large brands can't compete with her. They can't opposition her. She owns that tribe. So we're beating this point up, but I think it's interesting that you've been up front and admitted the dark side of retail.
It's an important point. And again, like if I can go back, and so I mentioned earlier, maybe it was on the earlier cast, but the premium cast, tune in if you want to hear that. That my new product and brand company, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be doing wholesale on that. It's going to be completely controlled. It's all going to be focused on retail, going to be on Amazon, going to set that all up from the beginning. and and I think it's going to be just, I learned my lesson. I think I would say so. We'll see how that all works
Yeah, and
out,
I think there's probably a lot to learn from Tipsy Elves. I couldn't get them on the show when I first tried. I think it was probably had something to do with sometimes people are nervous because of their deal situation, or maybe they hadn't closed with Robert
Sure.
yet. But now it seems like they're really humming. But a lot of it has to do with the price increase as well. I mean, if you control that
Yep.
tribe, freshly picked, rags to riches, they charge 2 or 3 times more than you would in retail because you can't get it. You can't go to Walmart or Target or Macy's or wherever and buy it. And it's interesting. You cannot just make 3 times more on the margin. You can charge twice as much for the product. It's pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that just kind of goes back to just in general, the control that you have over the pricing. The second you start doing wholesale, whatever you set that at, when you started selling at wholesale, you're stuck, But when you're just selling retail, you can be as flexible as you want. You can change it whenever you want.
So I have a question from a listener here. I've actually got a few, but I'm going to pick one that's relevant to what we're talking about. And this is Elena, and her online store is Elena's Essentials. She's only on Etsy at the moment, but she wanted to ask how these Shark Tank companies grow so fast online and how to get traffic on their sites. So kind of dovetails with the topic. But obviously you'd grown to 5 million. Was it all through retail, or was there any online presence direct from the website? Because your website's awesome. Like, it's a great e-commerce site. How have you really jacked that up and kind of direct people to the site?
Well, so there's a couple things there. One, the majority, I mean, we started out, obviously, the first year is 100% retail, direct website sales. The second year was maybe 70-30, and then maybe 60-40, 50-50. So we've always done a good amount of sales direct through our website, and now we're focusing back on that again. Our biggest year one is 1.3. Yeah, that had a good amount. I think maybe 800 or 900 was wholesale. But direct sales are huge. And actually, now that we're really kind of focused on Amazon, it's been a huge distribution channel for us. So again, I definitely don't just be on Etsy if you can anyway. I think Amazon has like their Etsy competitor now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you do need, well, maybe not for that, but just in general, you need simple stuff like UPCs, and to be a little bit further along if you want to be a legit Amazon kind of product on there. But kind of just let me tell you a little bit about how we started out getting sales on our website. And honestly, it was just really lucky. So, I mean, take it for whatever advice, take it for what you will. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it might just all be, we got pretty lucky. When we first had the website launch, I didn't do anything really. I can't even remember. I think I just put it up, right? And I was like, okay, we're going to do some marketing. We'll try to get the word out in a little bit. This is before Etsy, This is 6+ years ago. And this is actually just when the little thing called Stumble Upon came out and more. But at the time, it just came out. And somehow we got stumbled. And that brought in like hundreds of thousands of people coming in. For whatever, like whatever their algorithm, if somebody else likes it after someone stumbles on it, then it gets put out to more people and shared and whatnot. So we essentially went viral off of Stumble Upon, which brought a ton of traffic to our website. All of it was terrible. Stumble Upon has terrible traffic. It's like, they stay for 2 seconds and then they go, but it still brought traffic. And that actually helps a lot when it comes to search engine ranking and whatnot. And we got, I think that an editor at Thrillist, which is like a daily, news thing. Now it's like a full website and blog and stuff. But Thrillist, again, is fairly small at the time. Well, I wouldn't say that. They brought in a lot of traffic anyway. They must have stumbled upon us. I don't think I reached out to them. And then they wrote about us. And then once they wrote about us, everyone else did, because that's how things work. Blogs are thirsty for content. They need to constantly give out, fun stuff for their readers. So once you hit like one major thing, everyone else just copies it and writes about you too, and then you blow up. Yeah, exactly. So that's basically what happened. We got lucky with Stumble Upon. Somebody important saw us, wrote about us, and then everyone copied him, and then we blew up. And we sold out through our first production run in, a couple weeks. So that was awesome. And after that, everything made from that, all the profits, bought more, and so on and so forth. Never spent $1 after that.
Interesting. Yeah. And I look at the time frame, and obviously back then it was easier to rank. It's a little easier to get press. So now, and these people starting out look at it as a hyper competitive market. My personal thought is you just have to do something a little different. Like they email one person from Forbes and don't get a response, and they, kind of get sad. They make sad face and they walk away dejected. I'm like, you have to email 100 people and send them your product and send them a letter and tell them why you're special and why they should write about you. And maybe 2 of them will do it. But that opportunity is still there. You just did it at a time when Stumble Upon opened that door for you, which probably wouldn't work today because
no,
kids don't know what Stumble Upon is.
But let me say, don't get me wrong. That's not all we did. Obviously, like after that, like I would plan to do all, and we just haven't. I didn't have to. I definitely would recommend. Yeah, you gotta just send out those emails and make each one a personalized email. Don't just do copy and paste. And to your point, having something special and different. That's the most important thing. Yeah, there's some other people that are sort of doing like we were very special and very different at the time. So that helps a lot. I would also say, if I were to give advice now, and if if you didn't have a product already sort of lined up, or even if you want to be like internet famous or whatever, go and find a specific niche. I like playing video games and doing geeky things. So that would be my particular one where I think like I could go and get on, let's say, for example, Kotaku.com is a very popular gaming blog. Like they put in random, like, some dude playing Zelda on bongos, like video on their front page sometimes. So like, man, if you find your niche, like there's millions and millions of people probably reading the main blog or main content provider in that niche. And just make some content, make a product, make something like something specifically, and you'll get your hit. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it's not. Sometimes you get that hit, nothing comes of it. But find something specific and different and interesting that's going to appeal to this kind of very niche crowd, and you have a much, much better chance at getting somewhere versus otherwise.
I like it. Yeah, and make sure you include a cat or a pug, and someone's going to make a meme out of it. Like it's going to happen.
That's my new products, man. So many cats and pugs coming up.
Didn't even know that. All right, so so we went way off track in a good way. I liked it a lot. I would like to talk about the criticisms and advice you got from the Sharks while you were there. Kind of break them down a little bit.
Sure.
We mentioned the licensing deal. Robert actually said they signed a licensing deal. There's only 4 people you need to talk to. So as I look at what's on the board back there, I went to ASU and I'm looking at, well, if it was like a Sun Devil beanie and had the red and maroon and was in the team shop, they would sell out every single game. That's a win for you and a win for them. What are the major obstacles to making that happen? Is it that it's too time consuming to go into each individual market? You don't have the manpower, that they don't allow you to do it? What's the problem?
Problem is not getting the licensing. That's not the problem. I can go and get the license, right? The problem is selling it. Like just because I have the license doesn't mean that shop in the college bookstore is going to carry my stuff. Not at all. That doesn't mean that the shop down the street is going to carry my stuff. So now I'll tell you, like what we have right now is just, we have ASU colors, but just without the logo right now, right? And I feel like in the pitches, when I was selling this at a trade show, and I was talking to people at least about it, was, well, look, yeah, we don't have the licensing, but honestly, its colors are there, and the beard is what really sells it. And I don't think it's going to be, the breaking point isn't going to be, oh, it doesn't have the logo. If you want to wear this crazy thing to a game and look like you're a huge fan and, act crazy and stay warm if it's a, tailgate game in the winter for a football, like the fact that it's missing the logo but still has the colors it's probably not going to stop you. Probably not. And so I felt like, yes, it's not ideal to not have the licensing on it. It's certainly not ideal, but I think we had a product that was good enough to at least do some, to give it a shot and see how it sold. And it sold okay. It hasn't blown up by any means, And I think I was really hoping for it to blow up, at least in a couple markets, just so I know, okay, yes, absolutely. I feel really confident. Let's get the licensing, because it's a fair amount of money and manpower to get the licensing. But again, it's not. I need to be more confident that once I have the money to licensing, that for sure I'm going to have customers for it, and I just don't have that. And I'll tell you another thing, because we are focusing more on retail now, direct instead of wholesale, right? That to get people to come to our website, we're not getting a whole lot of sports fans coming to our website, right? people are finding us where we rank very well for search engine. If you ever search for beard hat, beard beanie, something like that, people are going to find us. But people who are looking for sports related gear aren't necessarily going to find us. We get some, but we're not going to get the majority of them. So how does it, these people, are they going to be coming to our website? Because so far, like sales on our tailgate stuff doesn't sell that well on our website. It sells very well in sports related. We've done a deal with, for instance, woot.com. They're like flash sale site. They're like the OGs. They're sports.woot.com. We do some work with them, and we sell amazingly well with them, but it's still discounted, so the margins aren't amazing. But when we have that focus customer, it sells really, really well. But the question is, how do we get those guys? And our website's not the way that we found. It doesn't really work so well. So now I'm like, go ahead.
Let me keep exploring this. So like I'm more of a sales funnel guy, right? They come in, I put them in, and I do digital products and information. But for you, if they're not going to your website, like would it catch fire on social media? Would it be through is it word of mouth? Is it someone showing up with like the broomstick handles? Hey, get your beard faces, and they sell out at, like, you go to the top 10. Dang, sorry. BeardHeads. What is wrong with me? I didn't start doing that until we called. Maybe I'm nervous. Yeah. Would it be them showing up with a truckload of them at like the top 10 major football markets and saying, for everyone who gets on, we're doing a customer appreciation. You have to get on our list or follow us on social media, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's really exactly. I mean, showing up at the stadium, at events, giving them out to the right people. I think that's the way to go to really kind of generate the interest. Haven't done it yet. I think that if we got the deal with the Sharks, we would have done that. That would have been the plan. But again, it's just, well, I kind of mentioned, don't have a whole lot of manpower. Don't really, it's still a risky thing to kind of try. And I said, I'm not sure if that's going to work quite yet. And I don't know if I want to do it.
What school did you go to?
UCLA.
Okay. So like ASU, pretty decent tailgating community, but I was dating this girl from LSU years ago, and I went to an LSU Bama game when they were both in the top 10. And I think I've told this story on the podcast, because I'm like, all right, what time do we need to be there? She's like, 6. I'm like, I thought the game started at 7. She's like, no, 6 a.m. Like most people get there the day before, but we're going to be there, and there's breakfast, and there's chili, then there's these contests. And I thought, and then we get there and the place holds 100,000, and there's a parking lot the size of Disneyland that's totally full of RVs. Like that's the kind of place you could go and add 5,000 social media followers, like with one day's work, and probably sell out a truckload. If I were Mark Cuban and I was like, all right, how are we doing this? That's something I would probably have on the list. Have you tried something like that?
Well, one, you can't sell stuff at tailgates. It's illegal. It's not like the
it's not like the Mexican beach in Cancun.
So there are people kind of walking around sort of on the down low, maybe selling some like cheap hats and t-shirts and stuff. But to have like a full on like RV branded or something like that, and then have a setup where you can maybe give away stuff, but even then it depends on the school and what their policies are as bring things and actual companies and brands. So it's not as cut and dry as like, let's just go and get an RV and like paint that thing and start giving away free product or selling product and stuff.
I guess they'd all be painted if that were the case, right? They'll be hawking their stuff. Yeah.
But I mean, I know what you mean. And I think that maybe there's some sort of way around that. And sort of the ideal was, ideally, like we would have had, for instance, like maybe not like actually at the tailgate game with our official presence, but talk to like frat leaders or people like that for BeardHeads anyway, influential people, students within a school, and then have them essentially be ambassadors. Ambassador programs aren't we're not inventing that, that they exist, and they exist for a reason. So there's a reason probably why you don't see different clothing brands or what have you, like at tailgates, like with full blown presence. They typically don't have that. But yeah, I mean, the ambassador program is something that, again, it takes a good amount of manpower to sort of manage that. You give college kid a bunch of free product and money to throw parties. You got to make sure they do it right. And if they don't, you just threw away a lot of money.
You never hear from them again.
Yeah.
All right. So Lori mentioned that she thought this might be a fad, and she's really curious. She thinks you're talented, wants to know what the next best thing is, and you told her you're going to prove her wrong. So, it's Lori's closing line. She's going to keep her eyes on you, etc. But how much of this is faddish? Like, do you have to keep coming out with new types of products and new channels in the business, or have you just not struck the match yet that's going to lead to deeper market penetration?
Well, to be honest, I mean, she's not wrong completely. And, I said, I got to prove you wrong. Yeah. Cause I wanted to end on a strong, I mean, like, yeah,
Because I can't
maybe,
punch you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was like, cause I honestly be like, yeah, you might be right. But I'm not gonna say that on TV, and that's gonna be my closing line. Come on now. So yeah, I had to say, oh, I'll prove you wrong. But like, yeah, the sales numbers don't lie. They are flat. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity actually with kids. We saw kids blow up after this Shark. Actually, a week before Shark Tank aired, kids started blowing up, and then Shark Tank only helped that. We sold out of I would sell, I don't know, like 4 or 5 a day maybe of the kids styles.
That's
And then
surprising, because I got kids. I can't keep anything on their face except for dirt and mud.
well, the kids aren't the ones buying it though. The parents are, and they see the cute picture and they want to get the cute picture.
Yeah, I get that.
But like about a week before Shark Tank even aired, like we started doing 100, 200. I sold like 300 in one day, and then I sold out. Like 2 weeks before Christmas, I sold out of everything, which was unfortunate, because I know I think, man, like if I had enough stock of the kids, it would have been at least another 50, 80,000 of just the kids alone, dollars worth, minimum. But, so there's some opportunity in the kids. I think, yeah, again, the tailgate thing, there's a lot of, the kids can be just simply like put it on Amazon and get the right sales, and then it gets ranked high and so on and so forth. And then also, social media and whatnot. The tailgate stuff, or like we're talking about, requires a bit more of an investment, potential licensing that we would need, ambassador program, what have you, all this kind of stuff. But there's a lot of opportunity there as well. But, core business wise, those two things aside, when we're talking about the majority of the market, which are like adults, or at least the majority of the market that we're selling to currently, it has been pretty flat. And unless we're coming out with some new styles this year that I think could do pretty well. But at the end of the day, it's a seasonal business. Sales have been flat. Don't get me wrong, $1 million a year is not bad. I'm not unhappy with that. But without coming out, without like expanding into kids or tailgate significantly, or having a lot of new styles and things like that, I don't really see too many. We're not going to be doing 10 million next year by any means. I don't think that's even possible. So she wasn't wrong, but yeah, I'll prove you wrong. Sure, why not?
You are incorrect. Now, the last one I want to talk about was, well, there's two really. Robert talked about his Drunken Elf sweater company, as Kevin called it, and how you might not be running fast enough. And we've already mentioned the 17 million. In my mind, I think about collaboration, right? The wholesale version of social media is how do I share followers? How do I share tribal members? Has there been any of that with companies like Tipsy Elves or other, you got sports blogs, you've got entertainment blogs, you've got apparel blogs, and with the blogs, You've also got the social media tribes. Is there been anyone there who reaches out and, like an ambassador type program, says, hey, let's run contests together, right, let's do co-promotions? Right. What does that look like?
Well, that's pretty much, that's all we do, really. That's the marketing efforts, or that's not all we do, but yeah, there's a whole lot of that. Sometimes with bigger brands, sometimes with smaller brands. Excuse me. We do this, what did we just do with Chubbies? Chubbies? They make these little shorts. We did something with them this past year.
I got a huge backside. I can't wear little shorts, so I don't even show. I don't deal with that.
Right, you stay away from them.
Yeah.
They're interesting though on their ambassador program, what they did. But anyway, neither here nor there. Chubbies are, we do this one thing with Sam Adams beer. It's actually their Boston beer brand, their shandies and stuff. But yeah, we do that co-promotion, co-marketing, because they're fun, and we can set up contests really easily. We're always up to do giveaways and all that kind of stuff. So that's there. My experience has been they're fun, but they don't really move the needle one way or the other. They might bring in a couple extra eyes in sales, but I've never had anything like that. Give us an extra 5,000 followers, for example, or bring in like a sales boost of 100 or 200 a day, and that said, we pretty much, we have to do this only during November, maybe October, November, December, January. We have like 4 months where we can really kind of do this kind of stuff. And then it's, we're dead because no one product really at this time of year. You know what I mean?
think
And
you're
I'll give you an example.
Oh, go ahead.
We got Darren McFadden, former Oakland Raiders running back. Now he's on the God. Now I feel dumb because I can't remember what team he's on. Anyway, he has like several tens of thousands or 100,000 followers on Twitter, and we had a couple other guys. We had somebody in the NHL and stuff. They did some things where they're taking pictures wearing a beard head just like 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, something like that, and tons of views, tons of likes and retweets, and we got like 5 sales.
No sales.
You know,
Yep.
it's just not that time of year. You know, versus Christmas time, man. 2 weeks before Christmas, a week before Christmas, it's just a madhouse here. You know.
Interesting. So yeah, you're on that school teacher schedule. There's nothing going on in
Yep.
the summer. It's hard to endorse surfers with the beard head. Maybe you should sponsor the X Games. Maybe that's what it's going to take.
Oh yeah, that won't cost anything, right?
No, they do a freebie every 3 years.
Oh.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
No, it's been really interesting getting your perspective, David, on the BeardHead. And the last thing that was here was Kevin. I don't know how I can form a question from this, but I really liked what he said. Is that I want to see a path to 5x my investment. For you, that means you got to get to 7 million in sales, and if you can't articulate that, then it's just not going to work for me. And I like the thought here is that if you're a business owner and you can't articulate what the path is for a 5x investment, then you kind of have to look outside the box and figure out what that is. So that was just kind of a tidbit of Shark Tank that I thought was useful. What's changed in the business since Shark Tank? What parts of your business have been affected, altered, or what mindsets are different now than they used to be?
Right. Well, I mean, just off the bat, obviously our sales shot up after Shark Tank, so that was nice. You know, it's always gonna, you get the boost, you get 8-10 million people watching you. I got to tell some others to talk really quick. I don't want to take up too much time, but it definitely needs to be mentioned. But sales shot up after Shark Tank, so that was nice. A lot of interest. Got a lot of people kind of saying, offering me money. Oh, they made a huge mistake. We want to invest. None of those really panned out, and honestly, it wasn't really about the money. Trying to get an investment from the Sharks. It was about getting a Shark on the team. So I wasn't too keen on taking any money for equity. But I mean, it's kind of, we talked about this a little bit earlier, is like the main thing was I really, it was a change in overall focus of the business, going over to more towards the retail side of things. That was, whether that was their advice or not, I don't think they specifically gave me that advice. I was like hearing about Tipsy Elves. I'm like, oh man, 17 mil. Wow. Okay. Well, so yeah, seriously. So I mean, that was something sort of that I took away, and I might not have actually, I probably wouldn't have if I hadn't been on the show. But I don't think the Sharks, I don't think they had a whole lot of advice for me. I think that it was all pretty straightforward. Like, yeah, good product, good job building it. Seems smart. Not for me. I'm like, yeah, I get it. And to Kevin's, what you mentioned before in the 7X, what's the path, or to 7 million 5X. Yeah, I mean, and it was certainly something that I was concerned about, because a 5X return on investment. I mean, that was the whole pitch of the kids business and the tailgate business sort of being the catalyst for growing. But that's a difficult pitch. I knew I had to come in there. I mean, prepared. Your stuff. I knew that was going to be the issue, right? What's my path to 5X on this? And the only path I could really kind of present was the growth in the kids, and especially the tailgate. But it's a difficult path, and I think that they saw that it was a difficult path, and that's why they sort of passed. Just to mention the other thing I did want to mention, my website crashed badly. that when Shark Tank aired,
That sucks.
It was. Yeah.
What does badly mean? Like all night or during an entire segment?
Oh God, dude. It was pretty much all night. It was on intermittently. So I would get, a couple emails here. I think the first night, I was looking at the at once traffic, it was like boom, 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 went up to like, thousands of people all at once, overloads the site, crashes almost immediately, down the entire time. So I mentioned I didn't watch the show because I was sitting here in my office alone at from 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. was when the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. So all the way through about 1 a.m. that night, just online with tech support of my hosting company, trying to make sure everything's going, trying to get it back online, trying to get my developer on the phone, seeing what we could do to fix things. I didn't watch the show. I wasn't with my friends. I wasn't watching at a bar. There's no viewing party. I'm sitting here in the dark trying to get my website back because I want to make my money, you know? And I think that first night we only got like the site only managed to get like 40 orders, which was terrible. But throughout, as we got the site back up and working, and when there wasn't such a crazy crush of people all at once, you know, the orders started pouring in. I think we got, you know, made well into the six figures in the next couple days of, you know, overall revenue. So that was nice and that was great. But I mean, I can't help but think if the site was just working flawlessly that entire time, I think we would have made a lot more. And so to that point, because I think Shopify sponsors you, right? I'm switching to Shopify now because I really wish I was on Shopify instead of the site right now that's online right now as we speak is a Magento based. And okay. I was working with a developer and trying to get that online. And I I had my hosting company, which I won't name because I think they're nice. And they did a good job, but they know what they're doing. But
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
The site crashed, man. And I told them exactly. I told them I'm going to be on Shark Tank. I need this to not crash. I'm buying the most expensive server option. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm paying an extra $200 a month. I mean, I think the server option was like $1,000 a month, and then the additional $200 from Cloudflare to make sure there's backup on that. And no, it just crashed. Not even close. So
no, you got to do this Dave Chappelle prenup, sex prenup thing where you say, I get you're going to guarantee it's not going to crash. Here, I want you to sign. This is how much it can cost you per minute if we go down. Then it's a wash. Like, sorry, can't help you. Yeah, so you're switching over now. Good, I'll send you a link. Good stuff.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I assume that I've heard nothing but good things, and from a lot because I do happen to know some people that have been on Shark Tank, and if you're gonna, so I should have mentioned this on the other one. If you're gonna be on Shark Tank. Don't skip on the and with Shark Tank deal, so they'll be able to take care of you. And I will also say, like, whatever they have, like I know Shopify's got this $2,000 a month option for this ultra super Shopify, whatever it is. Yeah, do that. If you're gonna be on Shark Tank, do that. Even if it's just for short period of time, whatever it is, because for the hours that I was down, like immediately during and following the show, I mean, I lost $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 at least. So, whatever, who knows?
How many hours was it total? How much time are we talking about?
Well, so 6 p.m. Pacific, it was because 9 p.m. I think was when it, essentially. So around then, and then I was there till 1, and 1 it was kind of stable, but it's super slow, So that's 7 hours of it being problematic, I should say, because like as by the time I got to the West Coast viewing, it still crashed, but then it was just really slow sometimes, and more people got in, but man, like nothing compared to that. The East Coast viewing is by far and away the biggest, like at least 3 to 5 times bigger than the West Coast viewing, I would say, at least as far as the traffic that I received, and that might also be because we're more of a cold weather thing, and it's colder on the East Coast generally. But yeah, that hit me like a ton. I was like, isn't it? I went home and I wasn't happy. It wasn't like one of those like, wow, we did it and like great and all the, it was just like, God damn, how much money did I just cost myself?
Yeah, it's funny you made the point about people going in and not knowing their numbers, not being prepared, and you want to throw your shoe at the TV. But on the tech side, I had someone on Savvy Naturals, nicest people in the world. They did a deal with Barbara. I mean, they had a deal inked, and their site crashed intermittently for almost a week. And I thought, Barbara, I want to call her up. I'm like, Babs, what's the story here, hon? I mean, they figure it probably cost them almost $250,000.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah,
huge.
Oof, man. At least, I could at least say we got it figured out after the first night, because man, it's brutal, and it's such a disappointment, because this whole process, the Shark Tank process, was, I don't know, it was a little bit more than 12 months from start to finish. I emailed the very first email we talked about in the premium pre-show was that email and that phone call occurred in October of 2014. October 2014. The show finally aired in December 11th, 2015. So it was a long process. And to have it all go down like that, I mean, I started working on that website, doing it looks nice now. That's a new website.
That's pretty.
But I started that, like, I want to say like April, May of 2000 and then it didn't get to the point where it was even done. It wasn't done when Shark Tank aired in December, because there's all kinds of issues and problems and what have you. And it would have been, I'm actually building the Shopify site right now myself, and I just got a developer, and oh man, it's been like, I don't know, a week, and it looks amazing. And I mean, it's going to be done really, really soon, and it's already like 90% there. And I did that myself. Like, I'm getting a developer to kind of like finish it up and make sure it's all like
CSS
perfect.
and the effects.
Yeah,
and
but
yeah.
man, like, I just got a nice looking theme. It's like $90 and it looks freaking dope. So I really wish I did that.
SharkTankPodcast.net/Shopify. So yeah, no, they do a good job, and they know what they're doing. As you were talking, I was looking at your site, and remember we joked about using the word scruffy, and you know what just came to my head is that obviously you kind of shot down my ambassador idea because of the tailgating thing, but I got another one here, and that is the Lego model, which is that Lego has turned everything in the world into a Lego product. And I look at this and go, you know what? What about themed or character type beard heads? Why isn't there a Han Solo who's scruffy looking beard head, or any character? Because like what a lot of
a licensed one.
Yeah, I guess it would have to be licensed, but a lot of these companies have a product that they can rebrand every time a new movie or a new product or a new genre of something comes out. And that's what Lego's doing, right? Every time a new video game or a movie or anything comes out, there's a Lego version of it. And I was talking, again, I'm going to go back to Rachel, because what she's done is that her product, she only has a couple products she sells. And so BeardHead's different. You've got one staple product, but then it comes in 200 plus variations. Well, the way she keeps renewing it is that she has every product as a special edition. And she says there's actually a reseller market now for her product where people will sell used products, and because of what it said or when it was available, someone else will buy it secondhand for the full price, which I think is insane. Cool. But I'm kind of combining those and saying, look, if I don't know which beard head I want, but there's one that's in a character that I want from Harry Potter or Star Wars, like, I'm all over it, and I pay twice the price, and that makes up for the difference you have to pay in work and licensing. Is that something you guys have looked at?
No. Well, I shouldn't say no exactly. So licensing is always sort of on the table, and especially at trade shows, you're over there, you're presenting, and licensing people always come up. The problem is there aren't too many characters that can be licensed that have beards that make sense for the product. And I don't, and it's not I've made a decision. We're not doing any just general hats or other types of products.
Right.
Everything at BeardHead is beard related. So yeah, I mean, is what the version has a beard, but movie version sort of has a beard, but there aren't too many. There just aren't that many. A whole lot of characters that are known for beard stuff.
It's true.
The times that we've done.
You just focus on, like, my idea was you focus on the Game of Thrones, and I get it. I have tons of ideas, and most of them are crap. But the Game of Thrones beer headline, you get the Mace dude from. Do you watch the show, by the way?
Yeah, okay. But I mean, Robert's been dead since season 1, right? So who do we got? I'm trying to think. I mean, Tyrion has a beard now, but he's not really known for the beard guy, right?
They don't have one. They could still get one. No, I was thinking Daenerys has a sexy dragon beard that's blonde. It's about like this long.
Oh, okay. So you're just saying let's throw beards on.
Yeah, this is the Comic-Con crowd. No, but then I was thinking the Mace guy, who's one of the wildlings. He's got a beautiful beard. It's fire red.
Oh yeah, he does. Tormund,
yeah. So
yeah, see, but you don't even know his name, so why would you buy a beard head?
But you said earlier you're geeky. Like, I'm married, I'm settled down. Like, my geek level has diminished greatly.
Yeah, that's, again, like, licensing. It does cost money. We did a licensing deal with Duck Dynasty.
How'd it go?
Break even, maybe. Like it, but granted, we got in pretty late. It was a very good experience to kind of understand how that all works, and I learned a lot. But we got in there late. We got in there right as it was really just starting to come down because it takes time for us to develop that product and get it made and then get it to market, So they were probably at their height when we're like, okay, let's get on Duck Dynasty. And by the time it was ready to be on the shelves, it came down a bit.
Too late. Yeah.
Little too late. So I think at the end of the day, we we broke even, maybe lost a little bit. I still got a lot of inventory of that stuff. So, I mean, whatever. It was an interesting deal, but yeah, I mean, licensing costs money, and like take Game of Thrones Torment, for instance, right? Let's say we could somehow get that Game of Thrones license for him. I mean, no one really knows him. He might die next episode. Who knows, right? But I mean, how many people are going to be searching specifically for that product? How are they finding us, and why are they buying it? Are they going to like do a Google search for Hat, Torment, Game of Thrones? You know, like it's not one of those major needle mover type things. You know, there certainly could be other characters, right? Or maybe, you know, in the future, like another Duck Dynasty, for instance,
Right.
where their beards are so iconic and so important. And yeah, and that would definitely be, you know, that's why we did the Duck Dynasty thing, because it made so much perfect sense. But it would have to make a hell of a lot of sense. And I will also say that there are probably more opportunities for sales of licensed products in the wholesale side of things than on the retail. And it kind of goes to similarly with the sports stuff, where at least with our distribution channel, at least through our website, we're probably not going to get too many specific, you know, like those customers specifically looking for, whether, you know, it be Duck Dynasty or sporting, like licensed beard heads. You know, Amazon, it might work out okay. Amazon, a lot of it can just depend on, you know, how well your sales are and how you get ranked in their search algorithms and stuff, you know. So, but Amazon is something that I really just started doing a really good job with in the past year. So that's something to look at, I guess, moving forward.
Cool. Yeah, no, Duck Dynasty was a better example. So it's good to know you tried it and just kind of missed it by a few hours there.
But the majority of those sales were wholesale. Like all the money really, I mean, I sell a handful through our website. But yeah, most of them were just sold wholesale.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, David, appreciate the time. It's been really interesting diving into deeper into some of the topics we don't get to chat too much about on the show. And I want to make sure everyone has a chance to go out and get a BeardHead immediately. So where can they find you?
www.beardhead.com. BeardHead, not BeardFace. BeardHead.com.
And that's embarrassing. And which social media is your main channel? Where are you doing the best at?
Best at Facebook, but Instagram's like that's better. Like we like Instagram too. So /BeardHead at Instagram, /BeardHeads plural at Facebook, because I had BeardHead and it was a profile, and then I had to create a fan page. So since both of them existed, I had to do BeardHeads, and then they got rid of the profile page. So that's a little weird. But you know, /BeardHeads or /BeardHead for Instagram. Also, I just created a coupon code right before we got on this podcast, Shark Tank Podcast, all one word, nice and long, but very easy to remember. Shark Tank Podcast is a coupon code that you can enter on our website. You get 30% off of anything, and everything's on sale right now too, because we're like, you know, we're during spring closeout time, so everything's already cheap. 30% additional off. Just enter Shark Tank Podcast. So
30% plus the sale price for spring.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. I'll put that at the front of the video so people can see it when they get started.
Cool.
All right, man. Thanks for the time. It's been enlightening, and I wish you luck getting back on the show for the second time, since you know the exact secret way to get back in.
Yep. Just give the person who was on there earlier an email or a call and ask them to help you out, I guess. So that would be myself.
All right, David. Best of luck to you. We'll look forward to doing this again once you get back on Shark Tank.
All right. Thanks a lot, TJ. Have a good one.
Thank you for jumping in to the Shark Tank Podcast. Please subscribe to the show on iTunes and head over to sharktankpodcast.net to get the show notes from each episode and join the free Shark Tank Insiders list. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Shark Tank Podcast and on Twitter at Shark Tank PDcast.